Hello, HK and Beyonders, and welcome to another episode. Today we are looking at Project Wolf Hunting, which we have also covered on our YouTube channel. So I'm Shaz, as I'm sure you are all familiar with me by now, and also with me is Leon. Say hi.
Hi all. So Project Wolf Hunting, directed by Kim Hong-sung. This 2022 film, it's, pretty bloody, pretty gory, and extremely violent.
Let's listen to a little bit of the trailer before we get into it.
필리핀에서 검거된 한국인 범죄자들이 국제 화물선을 통해 부산항으로 후송될 예정입니다.
필리핀발 범죄자 우성선 프론티어 타이탄호의 모든 보안 및 관제 업무를 우리 팀이 전담하겠다. 세팅 준비해.
주무! 식사는 하루에 2번, 화장실은 하루 1번. 네 잔대가리 굴려서 빠져나가 봤자 배 아니다.
여기 한국 가고 싶은 데 있어? 지금 뭐 하는 거지? 그냥 조용히 한국으로 가라, 원래대로.
So Shaz, what was your initial impression on this one?
I think the thing that comes to mind is blood, and lots of it.
Yes, this was definitely a crowd pleaser, I'd say.
Unless you don't like blood. And then you probably spend quite a few scenes sort of holding a pillow over your eyes.
Yes, well, some of us anyway. This was a bit of a treat though for all the gore hounds out there. It's put down as like a sci-fi film, sci-fi horror, and I guess it is in that vein very much.
Yeah.
With things.
You mean the sort of experimental part of the film?
Yeah. Because this creature within the film, which is also on the freighter, is results of experiments. But before we get into that, we'll just run you down our take on the story a little bit. So it starts off where a group of criminals, hardened criminals, they're being moved from the Philippines to Busan in Korea. And they're being moved on this huge freighter, agents accompanying them. But unbeknownst to the agents, there is a plan by contacts with the criminals to set them free. We don't really get to see behind the scenes on how that was all set up.
No, that was already in place before the film starts, isn't it?
Yeah. So you just take that as a matter of fact, and that's backstory that we don't need. That's not what the film's about.
No.
And of course, when you're first watching the film, you think it's just going to be about the hardened criminals. That's before we find out that there is something far more sinister on the
lurking
ship.
In the depths of the ship.
So I thought the action pieces in this and the special effects, I thought they were pretty outstanding.
They were.
They put a lot of work into this.
Yeah.
And the influences, as we may have mentioned on our YouTube video, we've got Terminator, Rec 4, Resident Evil, Con Air. It's all mixed in there, but it's competently done. And though this film may not be a classic,
no,
I think it is one that is easily recommendable, especially if you like your South Korean films, the action films they do. This is, no shortage of action in it, and the players in it were really good. What did you think of the cast in this, Shaz?
I did like them. Like you say, they didn't really have, like a lot of sort of, I was going to say dramatic, like a lot of acting. They were all really good in it. The main sort of baddie, Xiao Ingut, he was a sort of tattooed prisoner. He was awful, wasn't he? He was mean.
He was a scumbag. Yeah, you took one look at him and you thought he's going to be the main threat.
Yeah.
The way he's antagonizing the agent at the beginning of the film.
Yes.
It's pretty repulsive stuff, really. He's telling him that he's getting excited, thinking about his daughter, and you're thinking you're in no position to be antagonizing this guy. And even though he's getting a beat down early on, he's still giving him lip. And so that he's confident. That seed is set there. He's got some confidence. So there's something up right from the very start.
Yeah. What about Dong Yoon Yang, the sort of quiet prisoner?
Yeah, I like his character, and I thought the guy, he looked very young. He didn't seem quite as threatening, but again, he had a sort of confidence, even though he's maybe taking a step back from everything and observing initially what's going on around, you know, or you might get a vibe that there is something a little more to him,
Yes.
you know. And yeah, he played his part exceptionally well. I think I'd like to see more from this guy. I think he's got more in his artillery. You know, I think he could be one to watch out for. I certainly enjoyed his performance. I thought it was quite nuanced for a film like this. You know, I thought he gave us plenty without actually doing so much.
What did you think of one of the only female actors in it, Jung So Min, the female cop?
Okay, are we questioning me on her acting ability or on the Leon scale?
Well, both, if you feel so inclined.
Okay. God, sometimes I sound so sexist. Somebody really needs to give me a slap. But yeah, seriously. But I thought she was a strong female lead in this film.
Yeah, she was. I liked her, and I sort of I feel like maybe we didn't see enough of her. Her scenes were quite short, and she was in the background a lot, but not doing a great deal.
Yeah, that's accurate. But when she's on the screen, she's completely captivating.
Oh, yes, yes.
She holds up every scene that she's in. I think she kind of steals for me. She has a good look to her.
Yep.
And I mean that as in, like, the camera really favors her. She looks good on screen, whether she's doing action or just talking to one of the other characters. She's very, she delivers 100%. And
Yes.
I could quite easily watch a film with her as the lead. I thought she was interesting. I got sort of vibes of like doing a sort of Bay.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I think she could, you know, maybe rise to a similar sort of level as her. I might be wrong. But what house has she got in her filmography, Jazz? Is there anything that we might know of?
So looking at her sort of filmography, it looks like she started from about 2010, and it looks like mostly TV work from this, doesn't it? Nothing's jumping out to me that we've seen.
Now, this would be where we need to speak to the guys at Podcast on Fire, especially What's Korean Cinema, because that podcast is really, really good for your Korean stuff, and those guys would be a little bit more familiar with this than we are.
Yeah.
But, you know, she's been going since 2010, so she's obviously, you know, building a career. And a film like this that's had a lot of notice, especially at film festivals and stuff,
Yeah.
you know, that may help catapult her a little bit further.
You mean into sort of more films that might go international?
Yeah.
Yeah. So who would you say was your sort of favourite character?
Right, I'm not sure what the actor was called, but there was an actor that played like the main agent, the one that
Sort of older guy.
Yeah, the older guy, the one that was being antagonized by our Tatooine fiend right at the beginning.
Oh, yes.
He was quite tough, and I liked the way they established that in the film. And yeah, it was a lot of fun for me. I think he's probably a very experienced hand, and I really enjoyed his performance.
Yes.
I think he had a bit more gravity than some of the younger ones.
Yeah, I did sort of look forward to the scenes when he was in them.
Yeah.
Like you say, he had that gravitas about his character.
What about you, Shaz? For you, who really stood out in this? Who would you be keeping an eye out for?
I'm not sure. I mean, I was really interested in The Quiet Prisoner, you know, the one we've already mentioned, played by Dong Yoon Yang. I was really interested in knowing more about what was going on with him. So yeah, I like the actor, so I'd be interested in anything else he might have been in.
Yeah, he's quite a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
You could almost see him being in the band like BTS or something.
Yes, yeah.
He definitely has that look to him.
Yeah.
So I imagine he probably has a rather large female following.
I should imagine so, yeah.
He's got one here now.
Woohoo! What did you think of the Alpha character?
The Alpha character, which was the creature. Now, that guy didn't have any script. He had no words. So everything he had to do was physical.
Yes.
And he was very imposing. I felt like when I was watching Robert Patrick in Terminator 2, you know, just kind of breathless, sort of exhilaration and fright when he was on the screen. And, you know, with his body language and his physical acting, it was spot on for that role. And where some people might think, oh, he's got an easy job, perhaps maybe he's got a harder job, because he's got to convey so much without words. I liked it. He was a convincing nemesis for me in this film.
Absolutely.
So he was called Gui Hua Choi. He was very good in this. I'd be interested to know what else he's been in, Shaz.
So his filmography starts back in 2009. It looks like he was in My Dear Desperado.
That's interesting. Now, I can't place him from that, even though we love that film. We've seen it about 3 or 4 times now.
I think it looks like he was one of the gang members, so maybe sort of in the background, not like a main character by the sound of it.
Okay, so he's making progression as he goes then.
Mm.
And a little bit further up his list, and we can see he's in The Wailing from 2016.
Oh, yes.
Now, that was a fantastic South Korean ghost story. Really enjoyed that film.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I can't place him in that, but I'll probably have to watch it again. I've only seen that film once.
Not seen it for ages.
Yeah. And then Train to Busan in this same year. So he's been in some top drawer, films that have made it internationally.
Yeah.
And if we look a little bit closer to the film that he did just before this one, The Roundup, which has been making a lot of waves in the community. A lot of people are a massive fan of The Roundup.
So also in The Roundup was Don Lee.
Yep, there's a lot of love for this guy out there. He was in the Train to Busan, which he was hysterical on that, the way he was beating off the zombies and everything was fantastic. That was the first real time I really noticed him, even though we'd have seen him before in The Good and Bad, the Weird. And we've seen some other films with him. I think we've caught some on BBC iPlayer with him, and I can't remember what they were called now.
Oh, right, yes.
The Gangster, the Cop and the Devil, which was really, really good.
Yes,
really
that
enjoyed
was
it.
good.
He was fantastic in that one.
Yeah, yes, he was.
So if you guys haven't seen that out there, I recommend it. Perhaps have a look, see if it's on the iPlayer still. I'm not sure, but that is a great film.
신호 끊겼습니다.
배 타기 전부터 기름칠한 것 같아요.
지옥이 따로 없구만. 여기가 지옥이다.
So, do you think, is there anything in this film that maybe could have been improved on?
Well, it's a tricky one, really, because the film kind of fulfills
the type of film it is?
It's brief.
It's brief,
yeah.
Okay.
So the film, really lives up to its brief, but then being the way it was, some of the characters I felt perhaps lacked a bit of depth and soul, but you're sacrificing that to provide the tension and the pacing. I think because we had that lack of depth to the characters, that you have really no idea who's going to survive in this film. So it makes it a bit more unpredictable. So it's going to depend on the individual as a viewer. What do you like? Are you happy having something that's just all flashy and pacey on the screen? Or are you going to turn off because you're not getting that character development and growing that emotional attachment to the characters?
Well, I guess you could say, because of the type of film this was, you don't really need the characters, because it's not about the characters as such. It's about what happens to a group of people and how they how they deal with this terrible situation that they're all in.
Agreed. But shall we go into spoiler territory now?
Yes, why not?
Okay, folks. So if you haven't seen this and you don't want to know what happens, then perhaps turn off now, go see the film in whichever way you can, and then come back and join us afterwards.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
So really did not know who was going to survive in this.
No.
And not very many do.
If anyone.
Yes, it's quite climatic come the end, and I was a little bit gutted when our lady cop, when she got killed. I did not expect that.
No, I didn't.
That was a complete blast. Usually the strong female does survive, but she didn't.
I know, and to be fair, I was quite shocked when, the really nasty tattooed prisoner got killed.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna, that mean character would be in it till like the end.
Right up to when he gets killed, I still didn't expect him to get killed.
No.
He was still smiling, even at the alpha. I'm thinking, he knows something we don't know still.
Yeah.
And then splat. Okay, no, he doesn't. He's just a complete arrogant git. So yeah, that was perhaps.
Mm.
Then all bets were off after that, wasn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
who is going to survive? The one I was surprised who survived as long as he did was the older cop, the one that was in
Yes.
charge of all the agents.
Yeah, I kept thinking he'd been killed in previous scenes, but then he was still going.
Yeah.
So when he got injured before, it must have not been that bad.
Yes, I mean, he was really, really super tough. I thought he might have had a little something more to him, but no, he was just one hard-ass cop. And he proves it by, you know, just taking a little piece away from the Alpha. You know, I like it when that happens. I won't, you know, flesh out that detail, but he, you know, he has his own sort of mini victory on the Alpha, doesn't he? And there is another threat besides the Alpha that comes into the film right at the very end.
Yes.
And he's even more badass.
He was horrible as well.
Yeah. And that's at the point when we realise that our quiet friend, the quiet prisoner, the young pretty boy, we know then that he does have something extra in the tank that he's been experimented on too.
Yeah.
That is revealed with a series of flashbacks, which I have to say, on the flashbacks when we've seen the experimentation, I'm not sure that some of the equipment looked like some oscilloscopes. I'm not sure they had those back in the 1940s, but it is a sci-fi film.
Yes, I think there might have been some trivia saying some of the equipment wasn't of the time. But like you say, if it's sci-fi, you know.
Well, yeah, we've seen plenty of films, you know, like Hellboy and whatnot, where we see Nazi experimentation, but in this one it's Japanese experimentation. So you can't really throw that as a criticism. It's a fictional film, and making a fictional story. It's almost like a comic book story. And where we leave it at the end with the survivors that we do have, there's another revelation, isn't there? And I don't want to ruin that one, even though it's spoiler territory. There's another revelation to do with one of the other characters, and it kind of felt open. I feel like they're leaving it open for a sequel.
Oh, do you think so?
I do. I very much feel like we might have a sequel. I feel like there's more story to tell here.
That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you remember when it started? And we had a notion when we saw the Alpha, and we wondered if it might have been linked to Train to Busan because of the zombies, and you thought this might have been Patient Zero, and frantically, quickly looking it up. Is it connected to?
We did, but that was a fruitless endeavour.
It was, yeah, but that would have been a nice link.
Yeah.
But obviously, this, you know, Alpha isn't a zombie.
I was waiting for it, even still to the end of the credits. Like, keep watching the end of the credits. It's going to be revealed.
But I guess even more so that Busan was mentioned, you know, as the destination of the freighter.
Yeah, I thought, oh, that's not coincidence.
Yeah.
Wrong again, Leon. I'm proving myself competent at getting it wrong. But no, I did enjoy this film, and I am curious and would follow if they did more.
Yes, I would. I'd like to see what happens with the, you know, the experimentations and how it might progress.
Yeah, I'd like more flashbacks.
Yeah,
I'd like them to fill out the past a little bit more. It's always interesting when they've got a setup like this and you know there's history to behind the scenes. Let's have a little bit more of that and then take it forward.
Yeah.
다 뒤져 이 새끼들아! 니들도 배 운전할 수 있지?
So, to sum it up, Shaz, do you think you'd recommend this one to our viewers?
Yeah, I think so, but I think you just have to have a you know, a bit of a caveat, like there is a lot of blood, so beware.
Yeah, maybe have a glass of water next to you, you know, keep yourself hydrated.
If you haven't already checked out our review of this film on our YouTube channel, then maybe have a little look at that as well.
Some shameless plug-in from us.
And now for something completely different. We go beyond Hong Kong.
So, where have we gone beyond Hong Kong this week?
Our viewing habits. We've been watching quite a bit, but one of the things I'd like to point out is the Irma Vep TV series.
I'm so sick of being the superhero. I don't need a hit. I need a good movie.
Are you gay?
I was, but not anymore. I got bored with gay culture. They are all communists.
How do you handle all the girls around you?
I loved you, and then you cheated on me with Laurie.
Laurie played you like a puppet. She ended up getting what she wanted.
I must have been the last person to find out about you and Herman.
Because you're scary.
Really, really enjoyed that. TV show stars Alicia Vikander, who a lot of viewers might know from the more recent Tomb Raider movie, which also starred Daniel Wu. I like this TV series. I thought it brought a lot more to the story of Irma Vep, and it's also created by Olivier Assayas, who directed the 90s film with Maggie Cheung.
Yes.
Is it true you'll be shooting a remake of a French silent film?
That is true. I'll be Irma Vep. René Vidal is directing.
René is nuts.
He's nuts in a good way.
Il faut avoir peur là. Moi j'ai pas eu peur. L'épisode s'appelle la tête coupée. Alors il faut voir la tête coupée.
What a gift this program was, I say. It actually enhanced the film.
I agree. I absolutely loved this series. I mean, I think, you know, it was just so interesting going behind the scenes. And I know the Irma Vep film done by Olivier Assayas in the 90s also did that, but I found this a much more easier format for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because there were so many more episodes, you know, so much longer because it was a series rather than one film. But I felt you really got to know the actors playing the actors.
Yeah, you've got two separate stories going on in it, really. You have the actors and their story, and then you have the Irma Vep story that they're portraying within the film. And both elements are really interesting, and you're following both stories. And also, there's a little bit of blurring of the lines in this. They add another dimension that wasn't really in the film. It's like, you're like, oh, is this really happening with some of the things that happen in it? And you can decide for yourself whether it is or not. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's gone to this other place. And I really like that.
Yeah, I did. And as well, as aside from that, the director in this, because obviously the film in the 90s was directed by Olivier Assayas, and now he's made it again. But I feel like he put himself in the film as a director, sorry, in the series as a director. So our mad scatty director in this is him, or a portrayal of himself, if that makes sense.
Yes, he makes a commentary really on his relationship with Maggie Cheung.
Yes.
But the character in the series is called Jade, I think.
Yes, and the director has a different name as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Now shoot him again. Now jump on him. Yeah, with both feet. Jump on him.
Renee, I have heels on. Yeah, I can't jump on him.
No. He's dead. He doesn't feel nothing.
So yes, Jade Lee's played by Vivian Wu. And she's essentially portraying the Maggie Cheung character.
Yes.
She was a former Irma Vep within the series.
Yes.
Because within the series, he's made a film in the 90s of Irma Vep, and he's now making a TV series.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a bit of a Russian doll here, getting lost within boxes within boxes.
Yes. And I really like that. I find it so interesting. And his, you know, so the director in this, René Vidal, played by Vincent Macang, it was just really interesting that he was meant to be Olivier Assayas in some sort of portrayal.
I think that's quite a brave and bold choice.
Yeah, I really liked it.
And yeah, he's obviously got a love of that type of cinema. And he has another young actress within the TV series, Fala Chen, who plays a character called Cynthia Kang, and she gets brought into it as like a new sort of big Eastern actress that he tries to bring into the show.
Yes.
There's a lot of characters in it. There's the really funny guy that's always like stoned, got his drugs and everything, and you just don't know what's going to happen with him. There's a you know, some really good acting in this and some really good characters. And the character of Mira, who's played by Alicia Vikander, she's got some relationship issues. She's got like an ex-boyfriend, but also an ex-girlfriend who she kind of still attached to within the show. And I have to say, there's a scene. I'm not sure whether it's the first episode between her and her ex-girlfriend, and it's so erotically charged. I mean, I just watching that scene, I could just feel the hairs on my neck tingling. You really felt that scene. The chemistry between them, it was electric, and I think that's what drew me in. I'm like, wow, they're really on top of the game in this. Really
definitely
impressed.
Am I that dangerous?
You are Irma Vep for me. So yes, you are dangerous.
So, Shaz, where else have we been beyond Hong Kong since last time?
We have been to Violent City with Charles Bronson.
$20,000. That's not bad, Jeff. Besides, it's not really a crime. My uncle's 80 years old. 80? All it means is giving him one little push. You'll have no regrets.
And that was fun. This 1970 film, original title, can you say it in the Italian, Shaz?
Città Violenta.
Yeah, there was 3 different versions, I believe, on the release of this that we have. And the release we have is from 88 Films. Those guys, they don't just put out all the classic Hong Kong stuff. They put out some classic Italian cinema too. And us being huge Charles Bronson fans, which we are, aren't we? We couldn't pass this one up.
No, definitely not. And I sort of couldn't believe we'd missed out on one, because you hadn't really heard of it, had you?
No, I didn't know this. I'm not familiar with Charles Bronson's Italian output.
No.
But this was a fun film. We watched it dubbed English, but then it's Charles Bronson and Telly Savalas's actual voices in Joe Ireland, and then it's the Italian actors that are dubbed. You can pick which way around you want to watch it with these Italian films. That works for us. You may choose Italian with English subtitles and get Charles Bronson dubbed. But as we're watching it for him, we thought watch it that way around.
I want to make you happy. So if you say okay, I'll even hire this friend of yours. What's his name, Killeen?
Killeen, you can't hire.
If I want him, I take him or anybody else.
Where are the photographs?
I want you to join our little family.
I've been an orphan all my life, Weber.
So look, you draw a regular salary, pension, you'll have all the freedom you want, always. There's no divorce from our family.
The director is Sergio Salima, and it was interesting. There was a really good car chase at the beginning of this film.
There was. It was pretty gripping.
Yeah, it took straight into it, doesn't it? It gets straight into the action. Essentially, it's about his love for a woman and her betrayal of him, I'd say.
Yeah, and funnily enough, when we watched, like you say, that opening sort of scene, car chase, I think we got to about, it felt like 10 minutes into the film before anybody spoke.
Yeah,
I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Since we didn't really know what was going on at that point.
No, it was completely captivating.
Yeah.
It was just all unspoken.
Yeah.
It was just taking you on a journey, just letting you follow the events and the actions before we get down into the nitty-gritty, but completely captivating.
Yes.
An unusual film, perhaps, different to some of Bronson's other output, and an interesting choice to have his wife, Jo Ireland, play the love interest.
Why is it whenever I'm with you, I always end up in the middle of blood and violence?
Well, it happens. The whole city is full of blood and violence.
There's a couple of scenes in it where there's a brief bit of nudity, but I think she's being doubled.
I would have thought so.
Yeah. Which was very well done.
And for any Formula One fans out there, there was a sort of cameo by Sterling Moss. Because there was a scene sort of at a racetrack, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And yeah, thought that was a nice little touch. Obviously, some sort of archive footage or something and put in there at the time.
Yeah, that was a great scene, actually.
Yeah.
It was slowly and deliberately done, and I really appreciated it that they take the time to do a scene like that where you probably wouldn't get it today. We would like to recommend this, but we'd like to put a little warning on. There is some sort of violence towards women in this film, which is a little bit outdated today, or completely outdated. And it was a bit of a shock to us, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Especially as it's, you know, Charles Bronson and his wife, and you're thinking, wow, they're going along with this. So,
yeah,
you know, obviously they...
Oh, yeah, because we sort of said, you know, he was quite brutal towards her. And then the next minute, you know, they were they getting on a plane or something together?
Yeah.
And I said to you, really? You'd just be treated like that and you just carry on with this bloke?
Yeah. It's not a pleasant kind of violence, and it's perhaps a bit distasteful, but it's what used to fly back then, you know, especially in some of this Italian cinema. So, you know, just be warned. If you're sensitive to that sort of thing, then perhaps skip this film. If, you know, you're kind of battle hardened and take a film completely for what it is and can shut off to it and now, you know, don't read too much into it, and you like Charles Bronson, then, you know, maybe give it a look. We enjoyed it. We had, you know, reservations about some of that.
Yeah, definitely.
But still an interesting film put out by 88 Films. So that's it for the Beyond Hong Kong section this time. You can find us on social media. We're on Facebook. We have a page on Facebook.
Instagram, Twitter.
Yes, and we do regular postings. Sometimes we do polls. Sometimes we put up little movie trailer clips, all sorts of fun stuff like that. And we welcome everybody to join along, and we try and communicate with as many people as possible because we really do dearly love the community out there. And whilst we're at it, we'd like to give a little shout out to a few of our friends who have been particularly supportive of our podcast adventure. We got Caleb at Caleb's Kung Fu Cinema. His podcast is absolutely fantastic, and he's really been really supportive. He supports everything we do. He supports it under every account that he has, and thank you, Caleb. We really do appreciate it. And Martial Art Theatre 3000, he's always supporting us and always giving us feedback, pointers, advice, and we really do appreciate that guy there. And also, for those of you familiar with the Asian Cinema Film Club, that is one of the top podcasts out there, and those guys also have been showing us a lot of support and a lot of love. So a big shout out to those guys too.
And we mustn't forget Ken from Podcast on Fire, who has given us some really helpful tips. And thank you to Icon for providing us with a copy of Project Wolf Hunting for us to have a look at.
Thank you, guys.
So, HK and Beyonders, that's all for now. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Leon.
Goodbye.
And we'll see you next time.